Name is Alec, and this is the midterm project for adjudication function. So I'm going to be talking about the Eighth Amendment. Now, the Eighth Amendment's pretty short compared to the choices that I had for the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, and obviously the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment states as follows: excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Now that's from the constitutioncenter.org as well as lawcornell.edu. They're both going to say the same thing because that's directly straight from the Constitution. Now, excessive bail shall not be required. That's honestly pretty straightforward. There are times where it has appeared that sometimes bail has been excessive because some people believe when it says excessive bail, it's sort of different for different people. So if I am a poor person who can't pay $2 for a burger at McDonald's, yet I get arrested, at $500 is going to be considered excessive bail to me. But the same goes, let's say the same bail of $500 goes for your average Joe having a $40,000 a year job. Even though that is $500 and it obviously will hurt, it will not hurt that much compared to the person who can't buy a McDonald's sandwich. And both excessive bail and excessive fines sort of go hand in hand because when talking about excessive fines, instead of going to jail, you'll be given a fine, but the fines need to match the crime. So for littering, they're not going to give you a $20,000 fine, hopefully. You would want it to be, I think, roughly about $1,000, or sometimes for states, or maybe less, depending on if you've been caught multiple times and who caught you, and if you're on the highway, if it was a double fine zone, and there's a bunch of factors for that. But the main part of the Eighth Amendment that is very controversial and still controversial today is the part regarding cruel and unusual punishment, because what exactly is cruel and unusual punishment? Some today, one of the main topics, one of the main topics of discussion when speaking about cruel and unusual punishment is solitary confinement in prisons. Now, there are people that believe solitary confinement is a good thing because it separates the troublemaker inmates, or inmate singular, separates them from the general population so they can possibly not cause any more harm or disruption to the rest of the general population. Others believe that solitary confinement is cruel and unusual because they are locked away in a cell by themselves, they have no interaction, and they can honestly become crazy depending on how long they are kept in solitary confinement. Now, again, it all depends on how long they were placed in there. Because if I'm placed in solitary confinement for a day or two, yeah, it's going to suck, but it's not going to be as bad as being in solitary confinement for a week, 2 weeks, a month. Usually you don't hear about people being locked in solitary confinement for a year, but usually 2 weeks around those times, those are actually pretty common to hear, yet actually solitary confinement, I believe, was not created for long periods of time. So there are actually multiple cases of where people have been have pretty much gone insane because of the amount of time they stay in solitary confinement. Also, considering cruel and unusual punishment would be like the injections that we do, even though it is more humane than, let's say, the electric chair we used to have, or the firing squad. Some say that we have not perfected our chemicals yet, or our combinations, to truly make it a painless death, or at least less painful for the person. There have been stories of, I cannot remember the exact person. It was either Richard Ramirez or another one of the notorious killers, was sentenced to death, obviously, in San Quentin State Prison, and during injection, he actually his skin turned green or at least highlighter yellow because of the combination. Um, and obviously, there are times where there are the expired drugs and others like that where it can be considered cruel and unusual. Another topic that we also talked about in class was Tent City and the expired Gatorade, which that can be considered a cruel or unusual punishment depending on your stance on expired Gatorade. If it should actually be given to the inmates or not. But we are mainly focusing on just what the Eighth Amendment says and everything. Those are just a few examples of what is going on with the Eighth Amendment. Again, saying excessive bail shall not be required. So you shouldn't have to pay for excessive bail if you are barely making any money. Your bail shouldn't be $500,000. Or excessive fines, you shouldn't be given a fine of $20,000 for littering or putting a piece of gum on the sidewalk. And cruel and unusual punishment of, okay, we're gonna electrocute you or other craziness like that. But that's the Eighth Amendment, and that is my project. Thank you.